In a majestic mansion on the outskirts of New York City, Charlotte Montgomery lives surrounded by luxury and elegance. The house, a grand building with an imposing facade and windows that capture the sunlight, is a refuge of comfort and sophistication. Charlotte, a woman in her early 30s, was born without the ability to see, but her vision of the world is enriched by a combination of intelligence and heightened sensitivity. Her fortune, inherited from her family, ensures her life is comfortable, but it also stands as a testament to her determination and strength. Charlotte does not let blindness define her life. She moves through the house with a serene confidence, guided by a perfect memory and sharp instincts. Her daughter, Emily, aged 6, is the light of her life. Emily is an adorable little girl with blonde hair that falls in soft waves over her shoulders and eyes that shine with childlike curiosity. The house is filled with laughter and play when Emily is around. Recently, Charlotte has faced several difficulties with nannies who could not meet Emily's special needs. She grew weary of trying to find someone who truly understood the complexity of the situation. The frustration was evident in her eyes, even though she tried to maintain a serene demeanor. "If I can't find someone who fits here, what will I do?" Charlotte commented to the housekeeper, Anna, as they talked in the living room. Anna, an elderly woman with a concerned look, replied gently, "I've heard about a new young woman in town. She's a talented pianist and could be exactly what you're looking for." The name Grace Davis began to circulate in conversations. Grace was known for her skill with the piano and had recently moved to New York City in search of new opportunities. Charlotte decided it was time to try once more and arranged an interview with Grace. Grace arrived at the impressive Montgomery mansion with a mix of nervousness and hope. The light-colored stone building and the well-maintained gardens gave the impression of a place that welcomed with elegance but also with a certain formality. She was greeted at the entrance by Henry, the gray-haired butler, with a friendly expression. Henry, in his impeccable attire, extended his hand to greet her. "Welcome, Miss Davis. I'm Henry, the Montgomery family's butler. I'll escort you to Mrs. Charlotte," he said with a warm tone. Grace smiled nervously. "Thank you very much, Henry. I'm looking forward to the interview." Henry guided her through wide, luxurious corridors decorated with Persian rugs and landscape paintings. The sound of footsteps on the marble echoed faintly. When they reached the living room, Henry opened the door and announced, "Mrs. Charlotte, Miss Grace Davis has arrived." Charlotte Montgomery was sitting on an elegant velvet sofa, with an expression of curiosity and warmth. Although her eyes were closed, her face displayed a genuine smile. "Hello, Grace. Please have a seat," Charlotte said with a soft and welcoming voice. "I'm glad you could come." Grace sat down in a nearby chair, trying to stay calm. "Thank you, Mrs. Charlotte. I really appreciate the opportunity." Charlotte leaned slightly forward, as if trying to capture Grace's essence solely through her voice. "So, Grace, tell me a little about yourself and what brought you here." Grace took a deep breath and began to speak. "Well, I'm a pianist, but I recently decided to step away from the stage to seek something more stable and fulfilling. When I learned about the position to care for Emily, I felt it could be a great opportunity to make a meaningful contribution." Charlotte seemed satisfied with the response. "Emily is a lovely girl, but she requires a very special approach. She's a sensitive child, and therefore, I'm looking for someone who can create a nurturing and safe environment for her." Grace nodded. "I understand. I have experience working with children and am willing to adapt my style to meet Emily's needs." "Great," said Charlotte, with a touch of enthusiasm. "Let's talk a bit about her routine." Emily enjoys outdoor activities and also loves stories. She's very curious and has a vibrant imagination. "That's wonderful," Grace replied with a smile. "I also enjoy reading stories and creating activities that stimulate imagination. I'm excited to see how I can help Emily develop even further." Charlotte paused and then asked, "Do you have any questions about the job or how our routine works here?" Grace thought for a moment before responding, "Actually, yes. How can I ensure that I'm meeting Emily's specific expectations and needs?" Charlotte smiled. "I'll always be available for guidance and feedback. Communication is key, and I hope we can work together to create the best possible environment for Emily." Grace felt relieved by Charlotte's openness and felt she was taking the first step toward a new and promising journey. The conversation continued, flowing naturally as they discussed more about the responsibilities and expectations. The welcoming atmosphere of the room and Charlotte's kindness helped dissipate Grace's remaining doubts, creating a sense of anticipation and hope for the future. Grace was hired and started working the same day. From the beginning, she showed impressive dedication and affection toward Emily. The way she interacted with the girl was natural and engaging, making Emily feel comfortable and welcomed. Grace used a gentle tone and a warm smile, which helped create a cozy and safe environment for the little one. She quickly became a constant presence in Emily's routine, actively participating in daily activities. Grace played with the girl in creative ways, inventing games and stories that kept Emily entertained and happy. Her attention to detail, such as patiently listening to Emily's small concerns and responding with empathy, made the girl trust her quickly. Charlotte observed from a distance with a mix of hope and apprehension. The transformation in her daughter's routine, the new dynamic with Grace, was a significant change. However, seeing how easily Emily adapted and began to open up to Grace, Charlotte felt a great sense of relief. She could see that the new nanny was not only caring for her daughter efficiently but also forming a genuine bond with her. Every day, Grace demonstrated her ability to handle Emily. The girl's contented look and enthusiasm while playing with the new nanny were evident. Charlotte noticed these changes and felt a growing sense of calm. She saw how Emily, with a radiant smile, would run to Grace and engage in the activities proposed by her. The daughter's adjustment was happening so smoothly that Charlotte couldn't help but feel relieved and optimistic about the new phase beginning for the family. On a calm and serene afternoon, Charlotte was at home, enjoying the silence that filled the house. As she moved through the rooms, an unexpected sound caught her attention. It was the soft and captivating melody of a piano, echoing through the hall. The music, which seemed to float in the air, had such a touching quality that made Charlotte stop to listen more intently. She quietly approached the hall, where the sound of the piano grew clearer. What made her catch her breath was the familiarity of the melody. Each note and chord had a profound echo, evoking memories that had long been stored in her heart. It was a piece that her late husband used to play with such skill and emotion. The sound was almost like a living memory of past moments, bringing forth feelings of longing and tenderness. When Charlotte entered the hall, Grace was sitting at the piano, her fingers still resting on the keys, but the music had ceased. The nanny, noticing Charlotte's presence, looked at her with an expression of surprise and a hint of embarrassment. Grace had played the melody with such feeling and perfection that Charlotte could not help but be astonished. The shock hit her like a silent thunderclap. Charlotte's face paled as realization set in. The music she had just heard was a unique piece, one of her late husband's favorites, something he played exclusively for her on special occasions. The coincidence was too much to ignore. The melody, with its deep and moving tone, seemed to have the power to transport Charlotte back in time, to a place where her husband's presence was still a tangible reality. Charlotte stood there for a moment, absorbing the revelation while Grace watched her, waiting for her reaction. The emotional connection evoked by the music was so vivid that it made Charlotte feel as though she were reliving those precious moments with her husband. Charlotte was visibly disturbed as she approached Grace, who was still sitting at the piano, the old and familiar melody lingering in the air like an echo from the past. The atmosphere was thick with tension as Charlotte finally broke the silence. "Grace," Charlotte began, trying to remain calm, though her voice betrayed a mix of curiosity and unease. "May I ask where you learned that piece of music?" Grace, who had tried to mask the impact of the question, looked visibly uncomfortable. She gazed at the piano keys, as if seeking strength from the ivory before responding. "Well, I used to play that piece," Grace said, hesitating. "Before I moved to New York, I was a pianist. I performed at concerts and events. It was something I loved to do." Charlotte furrowed her brow, surprised by the revelation. She hadn't expected Grace to have such a significant past connected to music. "You were a pianist?" Charlotte asked, her voice trembling with curiosity and a hint of confusion. "I never imagined you had such an impressive career." Grace sighed deeply and, even without seeing Charlotte's face, felt the tension in her voice. Grace seemed to weigh her words before continuing. "Yes, it was something I was passionate about," Grace explained, her voice heavy with emotion. "But something happened that made me give it all up. It was a traumatic incident. I couldn't return to the stage." Charlotte, upon hearing the response, felt a pang in her heart. She knew that music had a profound meaning for her, and now saw that Grace also carried an emotional burden. "What happened?" Charlotte asked, concern evident in her tone. "If you don't mind sharing, of course." Grace hesitated for a moment, her voice trembling. "I had a very difficult event," Grace began, the pain evident in her words. "It was a night when everything went wrong. A technical error and a series of things that spiraled out of control. That event was a nightmare, and since then, I haven't been able to feel comfortable on stage. Music, which was once a source of joy, became something painful for me." Charlotte listened attentively, her heart aching as she felt the sadness in Grace's voice. She understood that behind Grace's talent and skill was a story of struggle and loss. "I'm so sorry to hear that, Grace," Charlotte said, compassion clear in her words. "It must have been very difficult for you." Grace nodded slowly, the sadness evident in her tone, as the conversation left a heavy silence between them. After the revelation about Grace's past, an unexpected bond began to form between Charlotte and her. Charlotte, with her sensitivity and empathy, recognized how much music meant to Grace and the passion she still carried. Although she couldn't see, Charlotte felt the intensity of the emotions Grace expressed when talking about her past career. "Grace, I may not be able to see, but I can feel how important music was to you," Charlotte said sincerely. "The way you talk about it, it's like I can almost touch the notes you mentioned." "That's incredible." Grace, touched by Charlotte's words, felt a wave of gratitude and inspiration. Charlotte's strength, her ability to face challenges with courage and determination, made Grace reflect on her own journey. "Charlotte, I truly admire your strength," Grace replied, her voice full of emotion. "The way you face each day with such courage is inspiring. I've been thinking about returning to music, but I always hesitated. Now, with your support, I feel like I might find that strength again." Charlotte smiled, her voice filled with encouragement and support. "Grace, I believe in you. If music is what makes you feel alive, then you should go for it. I know it can be scary, but you have talent and passion, and that can overcome any obstacle. I'll be here to support you every step of the way." The trust between the two grew rapidly. Grace felt a new kind of energy and motivation, realizing she had someone by her side who truly believed in her and her ability to return to the world of music. Charlotte, in turn, felt fulfilled knowing she was providing significant support, helping Grace reconnect with something so vital to her. "Thank you, Charlotte. Your words mean a lot to me," Grace said, with a genuine smile. "I never thought that finding someone who understood so well what I've been through could be so comforting. I'd like to discuss some ideas about how to start over." Charlotte nodded, showing she was fully available to help. "Of course, Grace. Let's talk about your plans and see how I can assist. I'm here to support you every step of the way. Let's do this together." This exchange of support and encouragement established a new foundation for the relationship between Charlotte and Grace, marking the beginning of a strong and promising partnership for the future. As Grace began performing at local events, she quickly encountered a series of challenges and criticisms that left her deeply shaken. Returning to the world of music was not as simple as she had imagined. Each performance was a battle to control the anxiety that had resurfaced with full force. Charlotte was determined to organize her late husband's office, a task she knew she couldn't undertake alone due to her visual impairment. So she asked Anna, the housekeeper, to assist her with the task. "Anna, I need your help to sort out James's office," Charlotte said in a gentle but firm tone. "Could you please look through these things and help me with the letters and documents?" Anna agreed to the request willingly and began working on the task. As she sorted through piles of papers and documents, she discovered an old box hidden at the bottom of a drawer. Curious, Anna opened the box and found several yellowed letters tied with a worn cord. "Charlotte, I found a box full of old letters," Anna announced, her voice conveying curiosity and a touch of excitement. "I'll read some of them to you." Charlotte settled comfortably and listened attentively as Anna began reading the letters aloud. The first letter appeared to be personal correspondence and was dated many years ago. Anna read carefully, highlighting the important parts. "Here's a letter of thanks," Anna started, her voice clear and precise. The sender mentions how the late Mr. James's support was crucial for her during a difficult time. It seems he helped a young pianist in her career. Charlotte frowned, her interest growing as Anna continued reading. "Please continue," Charlotte requested, with a sense of increasing anticipation. Anna read another letter detailing the positive impact James's support had on the young pianist's life. The letter expressed deep gratitude and spoke of an important musical event. Charlotte listened intently, feeling the revelation weigh heavily on her heart. "Charlotte, this letter is from Grace," Anna said, with a tone of surprise. She thanks James for the support she received. It seems James helped her significantly at a crucial moment in her musical career. Charlotte fell silent, absorbing the revelation. The connection between Grace and her husband's past was unfolding before her in an unexpected way. She felt a chill, realizing that Grace's arrival in her life held a much deeper meaning than she had imagined. Grace struggles with an internal storm of insecurities and fears as she stands on the brink of a crucial decision, revealing her secret to Charlotte. The thought of confession paralyzes her, bringing forth a whirlwind of concerns that torment her day and night. Within the mansion, Grace feels torn. The walls of the grand residence, which once seemed to offer a refuge of stability and comfort, now press upon her with a sense of impending danger. She begins to question everything she has built there, feeling the weight of the fear that everything might crumble in an instant. The glitter of the luxurious rooms, the opulence that surrounded her, suddenly seems to threaten her sense of security. The greatest pain for Grace, however, is the thought of losing Emily. The relationship she has built with the young girl is more than just a bond. It is a deep connection, full of affection and trust. Emily has brought an unexpected light and joy into Grace's life, and the idea that revealing her secret might jeopardize that connection deeply distresses her. The prospect of seeing disillusionment or rejection in Emily's eyes is almost unbearable. Grace is also tormented by the fear of Charlotte's reaction. She imagines various ways the situation could unfold, from an outburst of anger to a coldness that could drive her away. Each scenario gives her a lump in her throat and a weight in her heart, heightening her sense of helplessness. She wonders if, by revealing the truth, she will risk not only her place in the mansion but also the stability she has found. Caught between her thoughts and emotions, Grace feels like a tightrope walker, trying to find the courage to face the unknown while the fear of losing everything important to her nearly paralyzes her. The dilemma she faces is a mix of anguish and hesitation, where each step towards the truth seems to come with a price too high to pay. On a serene afternoon at the mansion, an unexpected incident involving Emily forces Grace to make a crucial decision. The scene unfolds in the garden, where Emily was playing among colorful toys when, in a moment of carelessness, she knocked over a pile of building blocks, causing a deafening noise. Grace rushed outside, her heart racing. "Emily, are you okay?" she asked, trying to stay calm as she looked at the little girl lying among the blocks, with tears in her eyes. Emily lifted her head and smiled at Grace, despite her teary eyes. "I am fine, Grace. I just got a bit scared." Grace helped her up and, as she cleared the blocks around, noticed how much thinner Emily seemed than usual. Her concern deepened, and what should have been a fun afternoon turned into a moment of profound reflection. When Charlotte arrived in the garden, guided by the sound of the conversation and the fresh air, her expression was one of calm understanding. She had sensed the tension and, as she approached, extended her hand in Grace and Emily's direction, guided by the sound of movement and voices. "What happened here?" Charlotte asked, her voice revealing calm and serene concern. Grace looked at Charlotte, feeling the weight of a decision she had been postponing. With a slightly trembling voice she said, "Charlotte, I need to talk to you about something very important. It's not the ideal time, but I can't put it off any longer." Charlotte stopped near Grace and touched her arm with a gentle pressure, sensing the tension in her muscles. "What's going on, Grace?" Grace took a deep breath and, with her gaze fixed on the ground, began to speak. "There's something about my past that I never told you. Something that could change the way you see me and my relationship with Emily." Charlotte remained silent, her attention fully on Grace. "What are you trying to tell me?" Grace continued, "When I was young, I made some wrong decisions that led to a very difficult period in my life. I made choices that I deeply regret, and that led me to distance myself from my past." Charlotte tilted her head slightly, her voice soft and comforting. "Grace, you don't need to feel guilty. I just want to know the truth. What are you trying to tell me?" Grace looked at Charlotte, her eyes filled with tears. "I had legal troubles that, if discovered, could affect everything here. I made choices that drove me away from my family and my former life." Charlotte listened calmly, touching the air around as if trying to grasp the unspoken emotions. After a pause, she spoke firmly. "Grace, I understand that you're scared, but that doesn't change who you are to me. I value your presence here and the care you give Emily. I'm willing to support you, and we'll face this together." Grace felt a wave of relief and surprise at Charlotte's response. "You're supporting me even knowing what I've been through?" Charlotte smiled, her hand still gently on Grace's arm. "Yes, because I see the person you are now and how much you care about Emily. The past doesn't define who you are today, and I'm here to help you overcome it." Grace made a bold and emotional decision, to confront her past head-on. After a deep conversation with Charlotte, who supported her unconditionally, Grace found the courage she needed to move forward. With renewed determination, she planned a special event that would not only mark a new phase in her life but also reaffirm her passion for music and her commitment to family. The Montgomery Mansion, with its grand halls and elegant decor, was chosen as the venue for the benefit concert. Grace knew she needed a setting that would reflect both her personal journey and her new outlook. The grand music hall was meticulously prepared for the event, with velvet curtains and fresh floral arrangements adorning the walls, and a soft, welcoming light filling the space. As the big day arrived, Grace was nervous but also excited. She wore an elegant blue silk dress, which matched the grand piano that was centrally positioned on stage. The piano, polished and shining, seemed to reflect not only the light but also the emotion Grace was feeling. Charlotte, who had been actively involved in organizing the event, was by Grace's side, helping with the final touches. Charlotte made sure every detail was perfect, from the seating arrangement to the selection of music. Her presence next to Grace was a constant reminder that she was not alone on this journey. Guests began to arrive, and the hall filled with a mix of familiar faces and new friends. Grace watched with a mixture of anxiety and gratitude as people took their seats. The music was about to begin, and the energy in the room was palpable. When the concert finally started, Grace approached the piano with a firm and determined step. As she sat down, she looked out at the audience, feeling a deep connection with each person present. With the first notes, the music filled the room, and Grace let herself be carried away by the melody. Each chord she played was a declaration of her passion for music and a reflection of her dedication to her new life. As Grace's fingers danced across the keys, she felt the significance of the moment. It was more than a performance. It was a statement of who she had become and the future she was building. The benefit concert not only celebrated her personal journey but also provided an opportunity to start anew, with Charlotte's unwavering support and the affection of the family gathered to watch. At the climax of the concert, Grace prepared to play the final piece, a profound and emotional composition that seemed to capture every high and low of her personal journey. The grand piano gleamed under the soft stage lights, and Grace sat with a posture of pure concentration and emotion. The atmosphere was filled with a silent expectation, each guest eager to hear what she had reserved for this special moment. As Grace began to play, her hands glided gracefully and precisely over the keys, producing notes that filled the room with a poignant intensity. The melody was rich and enveloping, evoking a range of feelings that resonated deeply with every person present. As the music unfolded, the audience was captivated by the beauty and depth of the piece, many eyes glistening with restrained tears. Charlotte, seated in the front row, was completely absorbed in Grace's performance. Her heightened senses and sensitive perception of the environment allowed her to feel the emotional force of the music, even without seeing what was happening on stage. To her, each note seemed to be an expression of Grace's love and struggle, and the intensity of the piece spoke directly to her heart. As the piece progressed to its climax, Charlotte closed her eyes for a moment, immersing herself fully in the experience. She felt the weight and lightness of the music as if it were waves enveloping her, understanding that the true magic lay not just in Grace's technical execution but in the transformation the music represented. The piece was more than an artistic expression. It was a testament to the growth and change Grace had experienced and shared with everyone around her. When the final note was played and the echo of the music finally dissipated, a reverent silence filled the room. Then, a unanimous applause erupted, full of admiration and respect. Charlotte, with a gentle smile and a warmed heart, realized that the true gift of the concert was not only the performance itself but the transformation Grace had brought into their lives. The love and trust that had developed between Charlotte and Grace were evident to all. Despite the difficulties and challenges they had faced, they had managed to build a deep and meaningful connection. Charlotte felt that, in that moment, fate had united their souls in an extraordinary way, showing that, despite adversities, human relationships have the power to bloom and inspire in surprising ways. At the end of the night, Charlotte and Grace found themselves in the garden of the Montgomery mansion, where the sky was tinged with the soft hues of twilight. The concert had been a resounding success, and the sense of accomplishment still lingered in the air. The mansion, now silent after the event, seemed to breathe a tranquil relief, with the melody of the night blending with the whisper of leaves in the trees. Charlotte and Grace walked together to a stone bench in the garden, offering a broad view of the horizon. Stars were beginning to appear in the sky, dotting it with tiny sparks. Charlotte, with her keen hearing, listened to the gentle sound of the wind and the distant song of a cricket. Grace, by her side, felt the cool breeze and gazed at the landscape. "Grace, look at this," Charlotte said, her voice filled with serene tone. "The night is so calm and full of promises." Grace smiled and replied, "Yes, it's as if the world is breathing with us, reflecting the peace we feel now." Charlotte gently touched Grace's arm, her gesture full of support and affection. "You did something wonderful tonight. It's not just about the music, but about what you've brought into our lives. The way you faced your challenges and found a way to express it through your art. It's truly inspiring." Grace looked at Charlotte with gratitude. "I couldn't have done it without your support, Charlotte. You believed in me when I doubted myself. This concert, and everything that led up to it, is a testament to our journey together." Charlotte tilted her head, as if listening to something only she could hear. "I feel that this place, the mansion, now resonates with a new energy. It's as if the music has brought back a harmony that was missing." Grace nodded, looking around. "Yes, the mansion feels alive with a sense of hope and renewal. It's a new beginning for all of us." Charlotte smiled and added, "The future is full of possibilities, and tonight was just the beginning. I'm excited to see what comes next, knowing that we have a solid foundation to build something even more wonderful." The two women sat in silence, watching the horizon and letting the tranquility of the moment envelop them. The garden around them seemed to glow softly under the starlight, and the mansion with its old elegance seemed to reflect the new energy that Grace and Charlotte had brought to it.